All right. Any questions so far? Anybody on the topics that we discussed? Um, I know I gave an assignment yesterday about um, you know about some layout customer UI customization and business processing opportunity. I mean, we can spend time today or tomorrow and get it done. But now I want to go to data loader, like what data loader is, and how we use it, how we set it up, and stuff like that. Okay. Now here is the thing. So I think we spoke about this before. Most of the time, see, you build an application and you have everything in the application, but basically what happens, the sometimes let's say here is one of the use case that we have. There are companies that are using some legacy CRM applications. For example, there are CRMs like Act CRM or Siebel CRM. I think a lot of people shifted from Siebel to Salesforce. So there are a lot of companies who are already using CRM, but a different CRM application. But now they wanted to move to Salesforce. Okay. Now in Salesforce, they built the whole application. They built the tables, configured, customized everything. But because they have been using the CRM for long, they already have data that's available, right? In legacy application, they already have data that is available. Now, what should they do when they go live? They need to bring that data from that legacy application into Salesforce. Okay. Now, let's say they have like 1 million contacts or 100,000 contacts. Bringing that data, people cannot go click new and start adding information, right? So what they can do is we can use tools like data loader or workbench and prepare some Excel sheets, and from Excel sheets we can load the data from the backend. So by doing that, we can basically add data, like we can really add millions of records within hours. So that way time is saved. Of course, data is entered into Salesforce. The other thing is, not only that, that's one of the use case that I mentioned, where you have data from a legacy system that you move into Salesforce using data loader. Even within, like when you're working, let's say you have employees and employee salaries. You built an application for tracking employees and employee salaries. Now your company already have employee information. So rather than starting it from scratch, when you go live, you already load the employee information that you have, So that's why we use tools like data loader or workbench, like workbench is also a similar tool. So let's just see data loader. Everything works on the same principle, whether it's workbench or data loader or some ETL tool, it all works on the same principle. So let's just see how data loader works. So first I go to setup and then I use I'll just download the data loader. I'm just trying to download this. Oh yeah, I think it. Where did it go? I don't know why it is taking time. I mean, you can download from your side too in the meanwhile. All right, awesome. Okay, so when you install data loader, here is how it looks. I mean, you can just go to setup and download data loader too. I mean, if you have Mac, you can of course download the Mac version of it. Now, the most important thing before you work on any data loading activities, whether it's your desktop or wherever it is, it doesn't matter wherever it is, but just create a folder called data loader, and then within this folder, create another folder called logs. Just create it like that. Now, again, it's not a huge rule or anything, like it's not a rule that you have to do it like this. But, through experience, I figured out that whenever you're performing data loads, it's better to organize all the loads or all the exports, everything in one place, so that, it's better for us. Like if you place everything in one place, it'd be better for us, so that we can keep track of it. Everything will be, in one place. Otherwise, your desktop will be filled. It'd be hard to keep track. So that's why, I mean, I've never done data loading on this machine. But usually when you have data loader, like anything that you do, just create one folder called data loader. And within that folder, create a folder called success error logs. Okay, we will see why it is used. But, just start with that. Okay. Now here, and the other thing is always go to settings first. Okay. Now in settings, notice this. This is the most important thing. Do not make a mistake here. So now what we are trying to do is, of course, the developer org, like whatever instance that we have, this is a production instance. I mean, our practice org or the developer org that we signed up is a production instance. That's why the server URL will be login.salesforce.com. But if we are trying to load it into a sandbox, okay, we need to make sure that this URL here is test.salesforce.com. Okay, so always, like, it doesn't matter whenever you are trying to perform the data load, always make sure to check the settings first to see if it is pointed to test.salesforce.com or login.salesforce.com. Now, because we are using a production environment, our environment is production environment, I'm using login.salesforce.com, but, just check that. Now, in the settings, you see something else like batch size. So batch size is nothing but, I'll come back to these settings, okay? I will come back, we will do some data loads, and then I'll come back to these settings to show what it means. But for now, at least know that you have this, this server URL called login.salesforce.com and test.salesforce.com. Now, let's perform the first function, Okay, the first function is let's do an export. Okay, export is nothing but if we want, if somebody asks, hey, can you get the data out of Salesforce? You know, we have contacts, opportunity sessions, and all that, right? So somebody asked, hey, can you give me some information, or can you give me the contacts that belong to this account, or like, you know, we are just trying to export the data out of Salesforce. Okay, so export, of course, means, you know, we are trying to get it. I'll just say password authentication. Okay, you still have server URL. Login. Okay, good. Now, here is the thing. So, CC, I gave my username and I also gave my password. And when I click login, it didn't log me in. You know, it still didn't log me in, which is good, let me tell you the reason why. Okay, so I'm going to hit cancel. I enter my right username and password. Let me try again. But it still didn't log me in. The reason being, while doing data loading, while performing data loads, you need, Salesforce wants to ensure that it is secure. Like, you know, just because somebody have username and password, Salesforce doesn't want them to be logging into data, because you see, data loader can do so many things. You can delete, upsert, export, you can do all those things. Just because somebody have, like, you know, I have this on my machine, right? For example, if I have the password, or for some org, like some Cisco or any company, doesn't matter, whoever is using Salesforce, let's say if I have the credentials, I can just, you know, export their data. I can do all kinds of things. So that's why what Salesforce wants to do is they want us to use something called security token. Okay, so I go to here, I go to settings. You see, there is something called security token. If you go to settings, there is something called reset my security token option. Okay, I'll just click reset security token. Okay, now if I go to my Gmail, you see this gibberish number, like I have this gibberish number. So what I do is, when I click export, I'll say password authentication. I enter my password, like right after my password, I paste it. Okay, no space, nothing. Like I enter my username, I enter my password, and right after my password, I enter the security token. You see, now the login is successful. So the security token is important, you know, without which Salesforce doesn't allow you to log into what you call, you know, this one, like a data loader. Okay, so how do you do it? Like you can go to my settings, like you can click here for settings, and within here there is something called reset my security token. If you click reset my, if I click reset, right, the old security token becomes invalid. Okay, so if I mean the name itself is reset security token. If I click this, the old one becomes invalid. Okay, that's why if you already have one, just start using that. You don't have to reset it. If you feel, you know, you need reset, just reset it. Type the password, like this is my password. I didn't enter a space, nothing. I just use Control V to be able to copy paste whatever that I have, that the security token that I got in the email. Okay, so I just click login and next. Okay, does it make sense so far? Okay. Now, what we are doing right now, we are doing export, right? Like, you know, we are performing an export. Now, you see here, there are a lot of other objects, but Salesforce is only showing these objects. So, okay, if you are not finding the object that you want to export, just click show all objects, and you see it shows so many objects. I mean, this includes both standard objects and also custom objects. If you don't want to see the clutter of all the backend objects, you can just use export button here. Okay, let me export all the contacts. I'll click contact. Okay, because I'm just choosing the object that I want to export. Click browse. You see, like when it exports, right? Where do we want these to be? Let me just okay, data loader folder. Okay, I'll just say I'll name it as .csv. Everything have to Salesforce. Salesforce data loader only supports CSV files, the comma separated format file. So contact export.csv. So we are letting the like okay, you know, I'm gonna bring the data. Data loader is gonna bring the data, but it should dump it somewhere, right? So that's why I used you know, for data loader folder. I named the file as contact export and then click next. Okay, you see, it's asking me which fields you want to export. Like, okay, you have contacts, which fields you want to export. Okay, I'll just say select all fields. So it automatically selected all fields that are available in contact. And then I'll just click finish. Okay, so I have 35 successful records. So if I go to data loader now, you see the contact export. You see, I have the ID, last name, first name, everything. Like I have all the information that is being loaded in here. Okay, like if you notice the column names, you see these are properly API names because a contact is a standard object. You can see all the API names. Now let's do the similar export for session object, like, you know, session. I'll just say browse. I'll select all fields, click finish. Okay. Then I go to the folder. If you look at session export, you see we started creating record type as you can see the API name in the header, street, city, state, end time, start time, like, you know, like these are formula fields, but you know, everything is exported, like what is the webinar link and all. So all the columns. Now you just notice something. I just want to show you something. So these are called system audit fields. Okay. For example, you see ID, you know what ID is. It is the gibberish 18-digit ID that Salesforce generates. So this is the ID record. Okay. I mean, this is the ID of each row of data that we have. Now, look at this one, created date, created by ID, last modified. So what is created date? It's the system mod stamp. These are called, like, you know, these fields are called system fields or audit fields. This created date is nothing but whoever created at what time they created. Now you see created by ID. Okay, created by ID. Who is the person who created it? Like, you know, it's a 18-digit ID of the person. Let me just, if you want to know who this person is, you can just copy this ID. Like after this force.com, you can just paste this ID and click. You see, it shows my name. Like I'm the person who created that data. Last modified. Who last modified it? What was the last time it was modified? You know, when was it last viewed? What day or time it was last viewed? Last reference. So, you know, there is so much information that Salesforce is by default giving to us. This is called a audit table where, you know, we have all the information about when the record was created, when it was viewed, when it was modified, every information. Okay. Now, while exporting it, let's say while exporting, you want to export again. Let's say you want to export session object itself. I'll name it. .csv. So if you want, you can just choose ID, name. You can just pick up whatever fields that you want, like, street, city, state. So technically, I mean, people who know SQL, you are noticing that it is when you're selecting these fields, the tool is automatically generating a query for us. Okay, I mean, I can just simply write the query here too. Okay, so what now? If I just click finish, okay, if I go back here, session object without audit fields. You see, I only have the columns that I wanted. Okay, I haven't queried the columns that I do not want. So you're seeing a file like, you see, this is the whole session export, whereas this one we only queried the columns that we want. Okay, now let's say level 2, right? Okay, let's say we only want to query the columns. We only want to query the records where level 2 is there. Okay, so I'll just say session records with level 2. Okay, here I'll just say name, like whatever fields that I want. Okay, and you see there is a where clause condition. I'll just say level. You see, automatically, like when I chose level equals to and click add condition, the query automatically generated select whatever fields that I want from session object where level is equal to 2. And if I click finish, so we only have 3 records that are retrieved where level is equal to 2. Okay, I mean, again, you can add whatever filter conditions that you want. You can, choose any object that you want, and you can always export the data. Okay. Any questions so far on the export piece? What is the difference between export and export all? There is a very simple difference. Okay. So let's say I go to my conference management app. Okay. So let's say this is the record that I have, right? So this is the record that I have. Let me just click delete. So the record got deleted. But if the record got deleted, but it will be in Salesforce recycle bin. Where is recycle bin? I know in Classic, but I've never used recycle bin in Lightning. Do you guys know where recycle bin? Have you ever seen recycle bin? Let me see. Bin settings. A lot of people had it. Oh, fuck. They are not showing recycle bin. Basically, although, yeah, okay, yeah. That's good. So they're not showing recycle bin. I'll just show you. Let me switch to classic. If you see in classic, there is something called recycle bin here. Like if you click, you see the test from workbench 2. We just deleted this record. Okay. So any record that is deleted by us will stay in the recycle bin for 30 days, I guess. I know Salesforce keep changing the policy on this, but any record that you have in the recycle bin stays in recycle bin for 30 days. And if you want to permanently erase it, like for example, if you want to permanently erase it, you can just click empty recycle bin and it's completely gone. But what is the difference between export versus export all? If you just export, it exports the records that are present on your object. If you click export all, it will export the records that are present on the object and also the records that are present in the recycling bin. Okay, so that's the difference. So export and export all, I mean, I've never ever used export all in my entire life. But there is a feature that's available. So export gives you the records that are present in the object, and export all gives you all the records that are present in the object and also the recycle bin. Now, I just want you to notice something. I go to sales. I go to contact. You see this contact? Okay, if you are looking at this contact, how is the account name looking like? The account name is a clickable field, like where you can click on this and you will be able to navigate to the account. Okay, when you hover your mouse over it, you are able to you're able to see what a few details about this account too. You're able to do all that. So in the front end, if you see, the account name is, of course, representing the name of the account. But let's see in the back end how it looks like. Okay, so we did the contact export, right? So, and if you see, you're not seeing a column called account name. You're only seeing something called account ID. So what does that mean? Like, I mean, it means in the database level, right? I think we discussed about this. In the database level, this is nothing but a secondary key, right? Like, you have, this is a relationship field. Using this field, like account and contact are related using this field. Like, this lookup relationship. This lookup relationship field is enabling the relationship between account and contact. Now, what is Salesforce storing in the backend? Salesforce is storing the 18-digit ID of the account in the backend. Like if you notice, Salesforce is storing the 18-digit ID of the account. Okay, here it is storing the 18-digit ID of the account. But in the front end, from the UI, like if you showed a user this one, like in the UI, if you show user a 18-digit ID instead of the account name, will a user be able to identify? I mean, the user will never know what it is. Like they will not be able to read that 18-digit ID and figure out what it is. That's why in the UI, Salesforce is doing some magic. They have written some code to be able to actually display the name of the account instead of the ID. Okay, but technically in the backend, in the account field, it is always storing the ID. Okay, let's go to our conference management tab. Or let's go to employee. So you have employee here. You have employee salary. Okay, let's go to employee salary record. See, in the employee salary record, in the column employee, you're seeing something called test2. Like, this is nothing but this is in the employee salary table. You have a relationship field to employee. Now, in the back end, what is Salesforce storing? It is a lookup field, whether it's a lookup field or master detail. As long as it is a relationship field, Salesforce is storing a 18-digit ID here. It's not actually storing the value called test2, but they are doing some magic in the UI to show you the name called test2. Okay, let's just query it and see. Let's go to export. Let's go to employee salary. Like, I'm going to export employee salary. It doesn't matter spelling mistake. Just want to query all the fields. Okay. Now I go back to here. Employee salary. Oh shit, didn't I do all fields? Okay, let me just export it again. Employee salary. So I'm going to choose all fields. Click finish. Yes. And this is view extraction. You see? Look at this field. So this is the record. This is the let me just go around this. See, this is the back-end representation, okay? You see the ID, YJ3QAN, YJ3QAN. You see owner, what is it showing? In the front end, it is showing it as Shravan Pininti. But what is stored in the back end in the owner ID? It is storing the record ID of the user record. Like, Shravan Pininti here is a user. And if, let me go here, this user has an ID. Like, you see this? NMQA4. Like, if you look at that, NMQA4. Okay? And the created date and everything, like created date, it is storing, what time it created, last modified date and everything. And you see employee, it is showing it as test2 here. But in the backend, for this record, what is it storing? It is storing the 18-digit ID of this employee record. Now, if I go here, you see, this is the employee record for this, like, test2, that's the employee record. And if you see the key here, you notice that it matches this key. Like, look at, observe here and here. Like in the URL, you have the ID and you have it here. So technically, employee salary, it's a child object. It is showing, in the UI, it is showing the name value, but in the backend, it is, just on the UI, just to make you, because if it shows the 18-digit ID, like some 18-digit ID like this, would anybody be able to understand what it is? They'll never be able to figure out what employee record it is, right? So that's why what Salesforce does, in the UI, it automatically parses and shows the name field, okay? Now, do you understand why Salesforce makes name field mandatory? Whenever you are creating a record, whenever you are creating an object, Salesforce forces us to create a name field. And, that name field, like whether it can be an auto number or a text, and they ensure that we have a name field no matter what. So what is the major use of that name field? Because whenever that object is represented as a primary, a secondary key, they always want to ensure to show that whatever value that is in the name field rather than the actual ID. Okay? Does it make sense, guys, this one? I mean, we spoke about this before, like about the database, what is the primary key, what is the secondary key, and all that stuff. But, here is the thing, like, so here is the back-end representation of what it is, okay? I mean, the reason why we are even learning or talking about data loader is, I want you guys to understand, rather than just the UI, rather than just the front end, what it is and how it is represented. I want you guys to understand how the data is actually stored in the database, like in the raw form, how it is stored. Because here also you might notice, like the owner field might be showing my name, actually my name, but in the backend what it is storing my ID, the 18-digit ID. Account name is also showing my name. But wherever this relationship fields are there, wherever the relationship fields are there, in the front end, they might show the name. But in the back end, actually in the database level, they store an ID for it. Okay? Now, let's perform an insert of data. Okay? So when I say insert of data, let's load some contacts into let's load some contacts into Salesforce. Okay? So in order to load contacts, I'm trying to load brand new contacts into Salesforce. Okay, I will just open an Excel. Okay, so we are loading contacts, right? So what do we need? Like in order to load contacts, so we are trying to load contact records. So in order to load contacts, we need the contact object. Let me just go to setup, object manager. So contact fields. We need to know the fields that we want to load in. So let's just take some basic fields like last name, for example. Since I know the API names, let me just do it. Or you know what? Let's load some sessions just to deal with the object that we created. Let's load some session records from the backend. So let's go to object manager. First of all, we need something called, in the fields and relationships, we need a name field, like, the name of the session, right? So what is the, it's not showing the name in the fields. Let me just, name. Okay, what else do we have in session? Okay, I'll just write agenda. So notice one thing, I'm copying the API name and pasting it here in the column. Okay, name, agenda, sorry man. I will take email, contact email. So whatever fields that I want, I'm going to prepare an Excel sheet like this. Level, name, agenda, contact email, level. Okay, for now let's do it with this. Just to make sure like we are loading something. I'm gonna drag it like this. So we have 38 sessions, like session 1, session 2. I'm just naming them as session 1, session 2, stuff like that. I'm just saying test agenda 1. Okay, level, I know in the front end, you see the level as, remember we spoke about this before. You might see it as beginner, advanced, intermediate, but in the back end, it's the code. So whenever you're doing the data load, always use the back end values. So I'll load one for few. Okay, I'll load two for few. I'll load something else. Like, see, these values are not there. I just wantonly enter these values, just to see what happens if we load the wrong data. Okay? And let's say I will leave this blank, basically name is a mandatory field, right? But I'm leaving few records blank just to show you what happens, if we do not follow the validation rule or anything. Okay? You see, I have the columns prepared with the API names, and then I have this. Now, sometimes the requirement, what it comes is, they will ask, the business will say, hey, they ask us to build the application, and the existing data will be with them. Then it's our job to be able to give them this template. Like, template is nothing but you won't have data, but you will have all the columns that are needed, and you will give that template to the business people or the business analysts, so they'll get you the data in the format that you want, so that you can use that file to load it in. Okay? So I'll just say save as. So where are we? On the desktop, we have a folder called data loader. And then here, I'll just say session data load dot CSV. That's important. We always, Salesforce only allows us CSV format. So just use, where is Excel CSV? Yeah, comma delimited. So you need to always use .csv format here. And the file type should always be CSV, comma delimited. Okay? If we do not do this, Salesforce will not allow us to load the file. If you have store it in regular Excel format, Salesforce will not allow us to load. So it has to be comma delimited with .csv format, and just save. So we save the file. We save the file in the location. Now let's fire up the data loader. Let's click insert. And which object we are trying to insert? We are trying to insert session object. Click browse. Okay. What is the... We named it as session data load. Okay. The file name is session data load. We choose this file. And then next. Yeah, initialization, your operation will contain 38 records. Yes, our operation will contain 38 records. Okay, now you see these are the column headers. Okay, the file column header. These are the column headers. Okay, and we need to map them. Okay, I mean, these are the Excel sheet headers. We need to map them to Salesforce headers, right? So what I do is I'll just click auto match. Okay, there is a button called auto match fields to columns. So what happens automatically? See, this is the file column header. In file, this is the agenda _C. You're mapping this to Salesforce, like the session objects agenda _C. Contact email, you're mapping. Like, if you don't want, let's say you gave the column names or whatever you want. Instead of agenda _C, you gave ABC. Instead of email, contact _email _C, you must have given just email. So what happens at that point, when you click auto match fields to columns, it doesn't work. That's why, in that case, you need to drag and drop agenda to agenda, contact email, right? Contact email to contact email. level to level, like, you need to map level to level, name, like you need to map name field to name. So you need to do that. But I'm so habituated of using this format. I always use the API name as my column header. So because I use the API name as my column header, I don't have to waste time in dragging and dropping. All I do is auto match, and they automatically match with the columns. Okay. So that's why always use API name in your column header while you are doing the data load. Okay. Click OK. Next. Now you see, look at this one. Select the directory where your success and error files will be saved. For example, we are loading 38 records now. We do not know among the 38 records, all the 38 records might be successful, or we only might get 30 successful and 8 failures, or anything can happen. So now, how would you know which records got succeeded and which records got failed? If we do not know, there is it's hard. Let's say 30 records got succeeded and 8 failed. So what should we do? We only have to reload the 8 records, but we shouldn't be reloading the 30 records, right? So that's why there should be a log of the records that got successful and the records that got failed. And remember, that's why we created a folder called success error log. Now this screen is asking, hey, where do you want your success error log files to be? I'll just choose browse. In the data loader, I have a success error log file. I'll choose that one. So in the success error log file, I'm putting them. Click finish. Okay. You see, it got 36 successes and 2 errors. So let's see what those errors are. So in the data loader, I got success error log. You see, in the data loader, I have success error log, right? In the success log, I have all these records that are created, like items created, and then along with the ID. And in the error log, I got 2 failures, and you see even the failures, why it is showing. Bad value or restricted pick list, 34. Bad value for restricted pick list, 4234. You see, in the initial data load file, we have this 34 and 4234. So because in the initial data load file, we have these wrong values, Salesforce thrown an error and stored them. You might be wondering why these records didn't fail. The name field is mandatory field, but why didn't these records, like these things fail? The reason why it didn't fail is when you are loading data from backend, okay? When you are loading data from the backend, if you do not specify a name field, if you do not specify name value, Salesforce automatically generates a name. I'll show you how it generates. First of all, let's go to our conference management tab. Okay, I'll go to all. You see this? Like, you can notice this record, session 1, 2, 3, 4, all these records are just created by us. And you see, for those 3 records, like for these 3 records where we didn't specify the name, okay, you can notice that Salesforce, the 18-digit, whatever the ID that it has, automatically the same ID was put in as the name field. I mean, when you load data from backend, if you do not specify a name value, Salesforce will automatically put the whatever ID that you use as the name value. But other than that, if you see, like, all the records, the session 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever that we wanted to create, all the records got loaded, and you can notice that, the level is showing as beginner. But while doing the data load, we perform the data load with the number, like the level number 1 to, agenda, name, email, everything came over. Okay. Any questions on the data load? Like for inserting the data, any questions here?
Sean, the error log Can we modify the error log and reload it, or we need to do it from?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. See, error log is also a CSV file. Sorry, no, I opened the success log now. So error log is also a CSV file. So what you can do is, oh, okay, you notice that this one. So you correct this to like 2 and 1. You can keep the error here. You don't have to map it, or just delete this. Click save as, save as, and just name the file and start reloading it. Okay. So, and if you notice in the success file, it says item created, and you can also notice that there is a 18-digit ID generated for every record. Like, we only had these columns, but Salesforce automatically also returned us the 18-digit ID that got created. Okay. Now, one important thing is batch size. Okay. So this batch size is an important thing. So what is 200 means? 200 means, like, we had 38 records, right? So we had 38 records. Because our batch size was 200, all the 38 records were inserted in one shot. So, like, batch size 200 means how many records you want to insert in one shot is what it means. For example, you have an Excel sheet, and in your Excel sheet, you have 1 million records. Okay? If you put batch size as 200, Salesforce will start inserting 200 records at once, 200, 200, 200, like, because the batch size is 200. Now, why do you have to know about batch size? The reason is, let's say you have lots of code written, like, on session object, when we are loading the data. Let's say you have an object where you have lots and lots of code that is written, and, the processing is slow. So when you are using batch size of 200, you might get some errors, because we are trying to insert 200 records at once, right? Because we are trying to insert 200 records at once, and there is lots of code that is running in the backend. You might run into timeout limit, or, the record to, like, you might run into different issues. So in that cases, what you can do is you can reduce the batch size to 20, or you can reduce the batch size to 50, okay? Or ultimately you can keep the batch size as 1. So, it inserts one record from it. I mean, again, how do we write the code? We have to write any code that we write. So in Salesforce, we have something we call this concept as bulkification. So bulkification is nothing but we need to write the code. Any code that we write in the backend, we need to write the code in such a way that it handles 200 records in one shot. Like, even if 200 records got updated or 200 records got inserted in one shot, your system should be able to handle it. But sometimes if you write bad code, or even if you write good code, if you write too much automation or too many business processes in one, you might run into some issues. So in that case, depending on the size, like, just try to the first immediate solution, rather than doing a revamp of the whole code or anything. Because you won't be doing data load on that object every day, right? So for temporary solution, you can reduce the batch size to 5, 10, 20, 50, depending on, and even if that doesn't solve your problem, you can reduce the batch size to 1. I mean, which I do always, most times. If you are loading 30,000 records or 40,000 records, if you use the batch size as 200, probably it would be done in like 5-6 minutes. 4 or 5 minutes, all 30,000 or 40,000 will be loaded. Whereas if I use the batch size of 1, it might take 1 or 2 hours. So, but what I do is I just set the batch, data load from, and I go about doing my work, and after the data load is completed, like after 2-3 hours, I'll check and the data load will be done. So, and that's why batch size is important. And in reality, if you're working on a complex application, you'll absolutely run into this. And one of the fix that you can make is a batch size 1. And always remember the server host, the login.salesforce.com or test.salesforce. If you're trying to load the data, if you're trying to do something, you need to always do that. You need to have the proper server host. Okay. like test.salesforce.com. Don't use test.salesforce.com. I mean, if you use your username and password wrong, Salesforce anyway won't allow you to log in. But just don't get confused on where you always have good clarity on thought on where you are doing the load by looking at that server URL. Okay. Any questions, guys? I know I wanted to cover that, but we will cover the, VLOOKUP, update, upset, and delete tomorrow. We'll cover the update operation, upset operation, delete operation, and I want to teach you a little bit about VLOOKUP tomorrow. I'll modify the name of the session to reflect the same. Actually, I'm buying a puppy today, so I'm just so excited to go there. That's why I want to stop now. Feel free to ping me or call me if you have any question, and we can talk about it. Okay. I set up the class already for tomorrow. I'll see you guys tomorrow at same time, 10 o'clock, and we can cover the rest of the topics. Thank you, guys.